Hi, everybody. This lecture is focused on the digestive system anatomy, looking at some of the main models of the digestive system. So let's go ahead and get started. So looking at the oral cavity and your accessory organs, we have three separate salivary glands that produce three different types of saliva. The ones that are on the side of your face, right next to your ear, are called the parotid glands, and you will see one on either side. You have one large one underneath your tongue called sublingual. Again, underneath lingual as a language, your tongue, associated with your ability to create sound or speech. And then one you have built inside the mandible, right, the jawbone, and that's called the submandibular gland. Coming down, you have a very pronounced cartilage tissue right here called the thyroid cartilage. And right below this, you have this butterfly-shaped gland called the thyroid gland. Going farther down, you have the tube that is actually associated with your breathing or your respiratory system called trachea. And poking right behind that, you have the muscular tube. So this layer, this kind of has those patterns on it. And that's the esophagus. And you're also going to see the main blood vessel of your heart, which is aorta. Now looking at some of the main organs of the digestive system. First of all, you have this dome-shaped muscle right here. It's kind of poking or peeking out from right here, called the diaphragm, which is separating your thorax or your thoracic cavity from the abdominal pelvic cavity down here. So what do we have for our digestive organs and the accessory organs of the digestive system? So starting on the right-hand side, you have your liver, which is this largest structure in brown color. There is a specific ligament that forms two main lobes of your liver, and that's called the falciform ligament. It also secures your liver in position. So now you will get the right lobe of your liver and the left lobe. And peeking out right underneath your liver, you have this organ which is called the gallbladder. This is also responsible for production of what we identified as bile that helps with the processing of fat. On the left-hand side, you have your stomach, and within majority of the structures or a space within the abdominal cavity, you have your small and large intestine. Now, if you guys recall, the small and large intestine have its own segmentation. The small intestine has three segmentation. Duodenum, which is not depicted on this picture, I'll show you on in future pictures. The jejunum and ileum. So jejunum is the superior folds of the small intestine right here, and the inferior folds are referred to as the ileum. Now, ileum is connecting to the large intestine you see going around, starting with this pouch-like structure at the beginning of the large intestine called cecum. Food then moves up through the ascending colon, across through transverse colon, and then again comes down on the side through the descending colon. Here's a different view of the liver. So again, you have your large lobe right here, which is the would be identified as the right lobe, and the smaller lobe, which is separated again by the falciform ligament, would be your left lobe. You have the gallbladder that's always in greenish color, and then the largest blood vessel that basically collects deoxygenated blood from the abdominal cavity. We learned in cardiovascular system before, called the inferior vena cava. If we were just looking at the intestines on their own, again, kind of the folds that are on the top is your jejunum, and the folds on the bottom would be ileum. You will have cecum for the beginning of the large intestine, followed by the ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon on this side. Now, descending colon, which is right here, this is the back of the same model, twists and sends the unwanted material to the posterior aspect. So basically they can be collected and removed from the system. So the twisting portion right here, that's called the sigmoid colon, which eventually ends with where the fecal matter gets stored, which is rectum. So if the descending colon is on this side, this would be the ascending colon. And right before the ascending colon, if you go back to the previous picture, right before the ascending colon, you have this little pouch, which was the cecum, or the start of the large intestine. Now, coming off of the cecum, you would have your appendix, which is part of the lymphatic system. If you can imagine, in reality of this picture, if I was having all the abdominal organs here, your liver would be sitting right here, and your stomach would be sitting right here. So the stomach basically covers the pancreas. So for me to be able to visualize the pancreas, I need to move the stomach upward. So again, this kind of a tadpole structure you see in orange, that's the pancreas. And pancreas is connected to the first part of the small intestine. You see as this tube, which is called the duodenum. So this is again the first part of your small intestine. If I was to look at the stomach, a stomach has a specific branching, but I can kind of orienting yourself. Food is coming up. The tube that is introducing the food is the esophagus. And food comes into the stomach and then eventually again comes out of the stomach through duodenum, which we already identified as the first part of the small intestine. Now, a stomach has a specific region. The area that's right immediately where the esophagus enters the stomach, called the cardiac region. Because if you can imagine, your heart would be sitting right here. So cardiac implies heart. So this is really basically within the proximity of the heart. So we refer to this as the cardiac region. The dome portion of the stomach is called the fundus. We actually have a fundus for uterus as well. So don't assume it's only associated with the stomach. The midsection is your body. And then this kind of funnel narrowing at the end of it is called the pyloric region. Two sphincters are located between or associated with the stomach, one at the beginning called the esophageal or lower esophageal sphincter, and one at the end, right close to the pyloric region, called the pyloric sphincter. Now, this is a different model, so I'm gonna show you this picture first, kind of orient you guys. So right here, again, if I can visualize, would be up here would be your liver. On this side would be your stomach. And if I remove the stomach, I can see the pancreas underneath it. These are the coils of your small intestine. So up here would be the duodenum. And down here would be your ileum. And again, kind of orienting, I'm just helping you guys identify everything on one picture. You'll have your pancreas up there, and this tube that the pancreas connects to right here would be your duodenum. Now, ileum, which is the end of the small intestine, connects to the first part of the large intestine. This area is called the cecum. And again, food goes up through the ascending, across through transverse colon, comes down through the descending colon, and then twists to the back through the sigmoid colon. Now, sigmoid colon basically empties the unwanted, indigestible material to the rectum for storage and eventually out of the body through the anal canal and anus. the connection that is the organ that is directly connected to the first part of the large intestine was your appendix, as we depicted previously. And lastly, what we have is these curvatures on either side of the large intestine. Basically, when you transition from the ascending to the transverse colon, and then from transverse colon to the descending colon. So this region is right below where your liver would be here. So your liver would be here. So the word we use for liver is hepatic. So basically this is hepatic flexure. Flexure means basically curvature of the stomach, or sorry, intestines. And then this side right here is basically your spleen. So this curvature is referred to as the splenic flexure because it sits right below the spleen. And one last thing I want to mention is the area where the ileum merges with the cecum. There is another valve right here, or another sphincter as you want to say. So there is a sphincter right here, and this sphincter is called the ileocecal, oops, sorry guys, ileocecal valve. My pen has a mind of its own right now. Sorry guys. Let me just show you on this slide. It's called ileocecal valve. Again, it's a region where ileum connects to the cecum. So that's about it for our digestive system. So please make sure you guys, again, go online to your Canvas page and download your homework and complete your homework for the digestive system and submit it through Canvas.